pretty much, a rubber stamp, if the commission agrees to it.
I think the rule I was happiest about,
that
Stewart said that he was trying to have changed, was this horrible cell phone automatic forfeit rule.
Right.
Sounds like there's a good chance that FIDE will abolish that.
Although FIDE already has an out on that, you can advertise otherwise.
But you can, if it's a FIDE-rated tournament, you won't be able to.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
That's what the proposed change is.
Oh, yeah, that's a proposed change,
Yeah.
but I mean, without the change, you can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike.
What about the issue where in FIDE, if we have to go by the FIDE rules in 2013, FIDE has a much, a significantly different standard in terms of the player to arbiter ratio. So we have to have a lot more TDs.
That's not accurate.
No,
That's not
not
accurate.
true. Yeah.
That's all. There are certain rules that kick in based on, and that's only for rapid and blitz, that kick in based on if you have enough oversight. But otherwise, there's no ratio that is required of one arbiter to every 20 players.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yes.
Just my impression of the FIDE rulebook is that it's online, but only in that it's online in a form that can't be printed easily.
Yes, it is.
I agree. I printed it.
Is there a
The
PDF
FIDE handbook is right on the.
Yeah, but the FIDE handbook is basically a series of HTML pages, and if you're not on a web, if you're not on a
And you can
site,
click print on your computer.
Guy can help you print them.
Or you can copy and paste them into Word.
Yes.
right? But I mean,
That looks
assuming I don't want to go through all the work of having to do that, is there a PDF version that's available that you can just print, download, and print?
No,
No.
Not that I know.
but you don't have to print out the whole handbook.
That's correct.
You only need the laws of chess and the appendix. The whole
Right.
handbook has got a lot of
Right, but
stuff
I mean,
in
it does mean I have to click on the page.
So does our
expand it,
rule book.
well.
Print
Well,
the page. And go to
okay,
the next one.
but the laws of chess doesn't have the pairing rules, for example.
You might want to contact FIDE about that.
Pairing rules are amended.
The pairing rules are in the handbook in a separate section.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that. I don't think it's that hard to navigate at all.
No, it's
It
not.
isn't a question of navigation, it's a question of,
Pushing
sometimes
print.
you're at a site where you
There's no
don't have
internet.
Wi-Fi access, so you can't look it up online.
Well, I think as a tournament director, if you're gonna hold, if you're organizing or are hired to direct that tournament, you can print that a month before the tournament or whatever, and then always have it in the binder or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand
But
the problem.
also, if you look at our amendments to our rule book, if you just had a rule book, you're way out of date.
Yeah, but
You've got to reprint all our revisions, which is what
But
we would have in rule book.
And that's why we're replacing that section with a link.
Yeah. A revision is 40.
Yes, Frank?
What do you think's preferable here?
Well, I think the easiest thing would be, and prefer to me, just to refer to the FIDE handbook instead of making all these changes. There are some things that FIDE just don't like. I was surprised to hear that Stuart Rubin said putting a rook upside down sounds good to me. FIDE, that is not allowed. But I think, was that part of the?
Our rule book allows that.
Allows that.
No, I know our rule book does. FIDE does not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Stuart thinks it's okay.
One thing that I like, and I had arguments with Bill Koishper about this, is a rule is that when one player has less than 5 minutes, both players can stop notating.
That's
And
a USCF rule.
That's correct. And in FIDE, only the player who has less than 5 minutes can stop notating.
Okay.
To me, the one that has more than 5 minutes, why should he stop notating?
I agree.
That used to be the USCF rule about
Right.
20 years ago, and it was changed because there were a lot of incidents in which the player that had time didn't keep score and tried to blitz his opponent over on time. And it was against the rules, but I mean, there were
Yeah.
constant complaints.
Well, you told me that, but
The complaints were so bad that I actually had to forfeit somebody because he kept refusing to do what I was telling him. And, we had one tournament where there's just a tremendous number of disputes, and all the directors agreed this rule should be changed so that the same rule.
Because it was
applies
hard to
both.
be enforced.
Yeah, both
huh?
players should, either both players
got it.
keep score or both players not.
But I think
the
that's
rationale-
the wrong- I think that's the wrong reason.
The rationale is that the player not keeping score has an advantage, in that he doesn't have to take the time to record the game. Okay, therefore, if one player gets an advantage, both players should get the same advantage.
I don't see the advantage. He forfeits the right to certain claims.
But that's the rationale.
He can do just what Bill was arguing for, which is now he can blitz him. Well, if he has to keep score, he cannot blitz him just like that.
I think we have here a fine example of a rule where you can make good arguments either way. And it would be, what I think is the best course of action is first you have to tell tournament directors to announce if they're going to have FIDE rated events, they're just going to follow FIDE rules.
Right.
We're not going to be able to change our rules to be in accord with FIDE that fast. But I think it would be nice if at this workshop we expressed the desire to move our rules in the direction of FIDE rules wherever possible and get there with all deliberate speed.
Yes.
But not this week, please.
Okay.
And again, as far as this particular rule, it's Not better that to be much consistent than deliberate to be speed. right. You can make an argument for either side of this particular rule.
Nicely
And
put.
It's better that both FIDE and USCF do it the same way,
I
than
agree,
either
I
do
agree.
it the way you like it.
Well, there's another way to handle things like this. You know, if we think the USCF rule is better, but we want to be consistent with the FIDE rule, and there's some support for the FIDE rule also, then we can say there's a rule and there's a variation. And we can either point out the FIDE rule is standard now, but the USCF rule is the variation, or the other way around, we can say the USCF rule is still standard, but warning, in FIDE tournaments, here's the rule. I mean, either way I think is okay.
There are too many rules in the rule book now where the variation is thought to be the rule. Yes.
Now, from your discussion with the FIDE representatives, they don't care which approach we take, as long as we make it very clear that after that
July.
middle of next year,
Right.
that if we're gonna submit a report for a tournament for FIDE rating, we use FIDE rules.
That's correct.
Do
And I do.
FIDE, does FIDE, do FIDE, do FIDE,
Do the FIDE.
do the FIDE, do dance. Do they care whether or not it's printed in a rule book that we have or online? I mean, what kind of point of view do they have
I
about?
don't think so.
They just
No,
care whether it's
the only
enforced
thing
or not.
is they read our rule book and say, you know, this doesn't make any sense, you know, in some sense. There are two instances that Stuart just couldn't believe it. One is that we place a witness in the position of having input to determine the outcome of a claim or a game. And FIDE's position on that is that we should never, ever do that.
What would their position be about seeing that in print or not in print? How would they feel if we say, it's a FIDE tournament, we're going to run FIDE rules. I just made that announcement for this whole tournament. But they don't see that. They don't know that we made that announcement. Would they be uncomfortable with that versus we actually print a variation and say, FIDE variation for FIDE tournament, and we just
Well, I
quote
think
whatever.
that would be better, at least if it is clear to everyone and there are no questions. On the other hand, if you're going to use FIDE rules, I think in the tournament announcement, you should at least put that.
That'll also affect
And
how soon you put tournament announcements out.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah,
And
and.
where they're posted and.
And they're required anyway.
Uh,
TLAs are required for FIDE rated events, correct, Walter?
Yeah.
You
So-
need the TOA, you should put in their FIDE somewhere.
yes.
Well, FIDE events
Not only
require
in the
30-day
title, but
pre-registration.
But that has to be registered.
in
I
the,
don't
Well,
see it.
without it being hit with a penalty. Otherwise, we get hit with a penalty for a regular event not being rated 30 days, or not being entered 30 days.
it's like publishing a time control. This event is FIDE, or FIDE rules apply. That's all you need from the announcement.
Well, I understand. I'm just
From our
asking
point
what
of
people think FIDE's reaction is to that kind of action on our part.
Yeah.
Let me take the devil's advocate position here. I'm going to sit at FIDE and we take the announcement route and they're going to grab our rule book and say, Look at that stupid rule. It's still there. USCF still isn't complying.
That's what they do now.
Okay, but I understand they do that now. I'm saying if we just make announcements, they're
Well-
still going to do that, and they're still going to think we're
Well,
not
maybe,
complying.
maybe not. I will go
Your
back.
opinion
I
on
will go
that.
back and say, look, this is what we decided to do.
At the end of this meeting, we'll know what we're doing.
That's
FIDE
fine.
Gotcha, thank you.
FIDE is not
Yeah.
going.
Now I feel more comfortable.
FIDE is not going to do that if there are
No.
two rules side by side, and one of them is the FIDE rule, and it says, this is the FIDE rule, and you must use it in
That's
FIDE
right.
tournament, then they have no complaint.
Yeah. The other thing they don't like is that we allow the players to make adjustment to clocks. For example, when both players are late, and a rule says that the first one to come in will split the time. They say that's terrible. You should never do that. The tournament director should be the one doing that.
You know,
Oh,
they
we're
don't
deep
split,
dog,
they
you
don't
do
split the
the
time.
And I agree,
No.
they don't split it. That's
They don't
correct.
split it. The
If you're
white
late, you
loses the
forfeit,
time.
right?
Hmm?
If you're late, you forfeit, right?
Yeah, if they're late at all, they're forfeit.
No,
That's right,
that
it's
can-
cheating.
that
They
can-
both
that
play-
can-
they
that
both
can-
forfeit.
there's a caveat in that with
Of
the
course.
zero tolerance.
Yes,
Correct.
yes, back to,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
I've got a question here. We have a tournament coming up in Iowa, August 25th and 26th. It's a Trophies Plus Grand Prix event. We have put in our TLA, in Chess Life, next to last sentence, FIDE rules will be used. We
Okay.
have that statement in it.
Okay.
My question is, which you have just handed out, should we be using this?
Well, those are not necessarily the FIDE rules right there, at least not everything. So what I suggest you do, whoever the tournament director is gonna be, he or she better know the FIDE rules.
Okay, he has already been answering questions by email. I'm an assistant tournament director in it.
Okay.
He's been answering questions to people about
Right.
various things about FIDE rules. But my question was, is there more than this that were changed in your meeting?
The handbook,
We didn't change nothing.
no, we didn't change anything.
That's not an official rules document. That's a
No,
proposal.
that's not, that's a proposed, for us
Okay.
to change a few of the rules to make it more in line with FIDE.
The rules in effect started in July 2009. They go through June 30th, 2013.
Correct.
Then anything
Okay.
changed now.
This, I
takes
should
effect
just
July
ignore
1st,
this.
2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just ignore this.
For the document you want, go to the USCF site. It's under rules, isn't it now, or wherever the rules are at? And there's a document linking up to Ken's site over there that lists
I
the
know
10,
about that. I know
well,
about
that's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
I'm just asking about what he's handed out here.
Right.
Gotcha.
Those are proposal notes.
Okay.
Proposal notes.
So then over the course of the next year, are we saying that kind of this group would like the rules committee to consider what of these we might, and think about what happens at the Congress and consider how we might bring some more conformity? Is that
I think
what you're
so,
talking
I
about?
think so. Again, the Congress takes place after our meetings here. We'll see what they actually approve, which I suspect they'll approve everything that Stuart submitted. I really do.
I disagree
No?
with that,
Do you?
only because
Uh-huh.
Stewart's a single vote on, on about a
Well, okay,
dozen and a half of us.
okay, you're
And
correct.
Stewart sometimes is, he's one of my Yodas like Tim is, but he's also the grumpy old man, and that
Okay.
his mechanisms
Yeah.
do rub the RTRC the wrong
Okay.
way.
Well, the Congress will approve just about everything the commission,
Exactly.
We'll say
It's the commission.
commission.
The commission is the one that
correct,
that does
Especially
the.
the counselor.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if Stewart manages to convince the other commission members that, hey, the USCF had this rule, it's a good idea, and so on, then that's good news. It's up to him to sell it, yes.
So let me propose that the appropriate action item is that these are all action items for this committee for the next year.
Correct.
And we should come back with recommendations on each and every one of these, plus perhaps a few
Well,
more.
I
next year.
think what I should do then
Appropriate
is,
advance delegate motions.
when I come back from the Congress in Istanbul, then I'll send you a more complete document of all the things that I think we should change.
Yeah, and next year, we'll show up with a complete set of ADMs and recommendations.
Yeah,
Good.
And it may even include some items that are gonna, this is just a clarification for me,
Sure.
that may change in August, because what is gonna be adopted in August will become the rules that become effective the next July, right?
Correct.
That's what I understand it.
Correct.
And then FIDE won't change those for the next, what,
4 years.
4 years?
4 years.
And once they get them in, they just lock them down and it doesn't change.
And then there's another advantage this way is we will also then have the chance of seeing, like Bill had said,
Right.
of which of the USCF rules we were able to get FIDE to change in
Correct.
their own rules.
Right.
So we're actually kind of making them do the dance first, and then we do the dance.
Yeah.
But I think it would help
I
for us
agree.
to
I
be
think
able,
that's
for
fine.
you to be able to report to them that we're on board with this process.
Correct,
We'll
yeah.
watch what they do, and we're prepared to do something next year.
Yeah. We had another item which was, had nothing to do with the Rules and Terms and Regulations Commission. It had to do with the Qualification Commission. And that is one thing that we went to fight, we fought about at the last Congress, which was getting the norm for tournaments using 5-second delay. I think Bill had quite a few of them.
Or increment. Delay, absolutely.
Delay. And they gave us, we had at the Congress last year, we had about 7 or 8 of us, Bill? How many were there from the US? 7? So they were surprised that so many of us were in Krakow, Poland. But that was good news because we were able to convince the others of several items that otherwise, if it had been only one of us there, forget it. And one was the norms by Bill. But they said, this time and no more. Well, what I did, I sent a letter after that to Mr. Nick Folks, who's the secretary of the Qualification Commission. And I want this addressed in Istanbul, which is right now for norm events, we have 6 defined time controls, or FIDE calls it rates of play. 6 defined rates of play. 3 have increment, and 3 do not. And I basically told Nick, I said, look, FIDE recognizes that increment is better than nothing. Therefore, time delay must certainly be better than nothing. And if you approve these 3 rates of play with nothing, let's approve some with time delay. When we had the discussion in New York, Sturman said, well, I actually want to go back to the rules as they were before 2005, I believe.
Before they passed in 2009.
Yeah, when they were not defined. Just have anything as long as it's at least this minimum. So I think that's what we're going to do. But either way,
That's good.
time delay will be okay.
The problem they had was the ACP, Associated Chess Professionals.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about one of the proposed changes
Okay.
on the sheet. 10I2, look touch first. I think in tournaments with a lot of beginners, it's a problem that nobody touches the rook first deliberately to get any advantage, and I think beginners will just fall into it because they don't know any better, and then may ruin their position because of that rule. I don't think that's a good rule. I don't like the rule at all. But when we discussed this with Stuart, what he said actually was, although he did support the FIDE rule, he also said, well, to take care of the problem with beginners, I'm going to recommend there'll be a separate section of the rule book,
Correct.
or a separate book or something,
That's
and
right.
it will be like FIDE rules that you're allowed to use for tournaments with a lot of weaker players. And he didn't define weaker players, but that would be one of the rules in there. And there are a few other points that maybe some of those
Yeah,
are on this sheet.
and he did that, but of course, now we have to wait till Istanbul to see if whatever he recommended in that.
It's true, we don't know how it will come out, but I guess the point
Right.
I'm making is I feel that if we're going to go back to the FIDE rule, and we used to use the FIDE rule, and they used to use our rule, and both sides have switched
Okay.
completely, then I think, we should have 2 rules, one of them being a variation.
I
and
think
one
we
of them
went
should
back
be
and
the
forth.
rule that we have now, which I think is superior.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, well, Bill, we'll know in Istanbul, and then we'll go from there and see what changes we need to make, if any. Yes, Stefan?
Mike said something that, when you responded to it, it got me a little bit thinking. He had asked regarding multi-schedule events merging, and that you had said that they wouldn't be FIDE rateable if they merged.
No, I didn't say that. That was not the question.
It was, if they were using non-PD rateable, non-PD rules in one section, PD rules
Correct.
in this. and then
Different
they merged it.
sections using different.
Not
Say
the
anything
time.
about emerging.
No, no merging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any additional discussion? It's 10 minutes to 3. Yeah, 10 minutes to 3, so
Okay.
the workshop portion is short.
Workshop. We have a workshop.
All right. Does anybody have any situations or any other questions for the Rules Committee, or need to hear our opinions on anything? One of my opinions regarding that last statement about castling, if you have a rule, the only way a youngster is going to learn the rule is for you to enforce it. And when you enforce it, they will learn the rule. Pure and simple.
The only thing is that if it's like a beginner tournament, the opponent's not gonna know the FIDE rule either.
That's right.
So it won't be claimed. You as a director can't say, oh, you cast it with the rook first. No, you
Forgetting
can't.
to such parents who tell their kids,
What?
you know, we don't care about
No, you can't.
developing pieces, control
None
of
of
the
the
center, never mind all that.
I don't
What we
care.
care about is,
You
he
can't.
touches
If
the
you
rook
touch the
first,
rook
when he
first, you gotta
passes,
move
then
the
got it.
He just said the arbiter can't point that out
No,
under USCF rules, and I
that's
say that
correct.
you can.
No, you can't.
When I was taught to play chess, I was taught to
The
move the
tournament
rook next
director
to the
was not
king.
supposed to
And
interfere.
then you could define how the
That's
king
not
moves.
true.
No,
I
that's
found that out just yesterday.
That's just a variation.
Easy to learn
That
it.
is just a variation. That's a variation, that's not the rule.
That's correct.
I just found that out yesterday myself.
Okay, does anybody have a situation type thing or a workshop type thing that they want to talk about? Yeah. What if?
Notation, you're not taking, I had this discussion with somebody, you're not taking, you're missing moves. What is a missing move pair? I know that sounds silly. There's one group of CDs I've taught to that say, move 1, white, missing a move, black, write something out, pawn to king 4, I don't care what it is. Oh, you can tell how old I am, I'm going to fit into that senior tournament. 2, white has some move written down, pawn to d3. And then he misses black's move. Okay, that's 2 missing moves. Is that 1 missing move pair
Two
now?
half notes.
No, it's two missing.
Those two pairs.
That's the way it is in the rule book right now.
Yes.
Thank you. Now I can say, I took this to the committee. You guys are wrong, I'm right.
Don't you just tell them, I wrote the rule?
That doesn't seem to fly with me.
No respect.
In fact, I'll tell them Dan Berg wrote that rule.
And then, as a matter of fact, in this tournament, it was kind of bugging me. One player was, in my first round game, that player was writing down his move before he made it. And it did start bugging me because he was changing his mind. He was changing the move. So I asked him, he says, would you please record your move after you make it? And he goes, is that a rule? I says, yes, it is.
Something, and I think Bill,
I mean, you're not supposed to talk to your opponent.
and I think Bill Grenchberg got copied on this next thing I want to bring up, so Bill can correct me if I get the details wrong. I believe what happened was a player touched piece A. Set it down, grab piece B, touch one of his opponent's pieces with it. The claim now is by the opponent, he's got to take the piece he touched with piece B with the piece he touched piece A. That was the argument. No. But, that's the kind of thing, if you're doing it on the fly and you've never seen it before, that'd be an interesting test question on one of our exams.
What's the right answer?
Well, the right answer is no, you don't have to take anything that he touched with the second piece. That's through to the poison tree, if you like that stuff from TV and legal shows.
I don't think he has to do it either, but the way the rule is written, it isn't all that obvious.
That's true, it isn't.
The answer is.
I think that's from your rule book, Bill.
Who writes rules for the others?
No, wait a minute, the rule says first piece touched. Now, if the first piece touched is the opponent's piece,
Then he has to
We understand, that's what's the gray area there. We know what the correct ruling is, it's the way the rule is written, and maybe it needs to be fixed up for the 6th edition, which is coming out when, Bill? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. My bad.
Whenever Random House lets us.
Oh, so it won't happen.
Yeah, apparently.
No, I've got a plan B too.
When they've sold every copy in the warehouse, so everybody go buy a copy.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
I'm gonna publish the rules.
How many
in
copies
review
left?
Okay. Anything else? Any situation that you run across that had a questionable ruling? Or a strange rule?
Well, then I move to adjourn.
Yeah, then we're adjourned.
That's a strange
Good enough. You got one?
All the questions.
Okay,
I'm for short.
You like
Yes.
I
I have a short attention span.
Does his opponent have to tell him, or does the director have to tell him, or what? How does that work?
Well, if a player calls checkmate, or states it's a checkmate, his opponent just responds with the move that proves it's not checkmate.
The player who
Pardon?
the player thinks he's checkmated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he's checkmated.
If he thinks
If he agrees,
No,
then
no,
he's
no,
checkmated, it's
no,
game
no.
over.
If a person
I didn't
thinks
call
he
him.
is checkmate,
They'll either
I got the
resign or
sheet.
lose
it's
their
called a
job.
resignation.
Yeah.
Probably about half.
Okay, if he
I don't know,
agrees
we
he's
got-
lost the
we got
game,
17.
he's lost the game.
That's right.
Not many
Less than-
now?
And okay.
17?
Yeah, I think
In
up
the,
to 17.
in the scholastic tournaments, this sort of thing happens all the time. Checkmate is called, they sign out their results sheet, and then you point out where the king could go.
There you go.
But it's too late.
No, you
No, you don't.
don't.
Too
No, you
late.
don't ever point it out.
No,
Never.
no, you're not working my floor.
But it's too late.
It's too late, you already agreed. it's a game.
He's not working Super National.
I am not working super